Hello and welcome to the Brass Junkies. I am your host, Andrew Hitz, and I am joined by the intimidatingly talented Lance LaDuke. Lance, how are you?
I'm awesome.
Have you been practicing any euphonium music today, like maybe pantomime or...
I have been practicing today. Maybe not the euphonium, but I have been practicing the ukulele.
When is the last time that you played a single measure of standard euphonium rep that was not in a lesson for a student? Was it during the... I'm going to guess that it was during the first Bush, like the Bush 43 administration, the first 4 years. That's my guess.
Well, sometimes I get paid to do it. So does that count?
Oh, yeah, I didn't mean for fun, because that answer would be like the 70s.
Oh, for fun? Yeah, that would have been... Well, it was not in this millennia.
Okay. There you go. All right. So, yeah, good. But you're a world-renowned euphonium player. It's pretty... It's what the kids call ironic. All right. So I am actually in the living room of our guest today. Is this the living room? It's a spacious house.
Yeah, I mean,
It would be sweet if he wasn't there, but you were.
Yeah.
I wouldn't actually be surprised if that happened somehow.
I broke into Mike Nickens' house. I told him that I would meet him at his office at Mason, and then I told him I couldn't make it, but I'm actually sitting in his pool right now. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I like a little me time. Yeah, well, we are here with Mike Nickens.
Make sure you strain the pool after the me time.
So you guys know each other.
Yeah, we do know each other. So, Mike, how are you? I actually
great.
mean this. I don't care about Lance. Right beforehand, I asked him in a very sarcastic tone how he was, but
It's been a really eventful and fun summer.
there you go.
Yeah.
Eventful.
Yeah, and we don't really care about that. What kind of mouthpiece do you play on?
Yeah. You know, I do.
No. Oh, we don't care about that either.
Actually,
This isn't the interview yet.
Parker didn't send me any, so I can't even say that. But I do have one of Mike Finn's that I do enjoy playing on. Take that, Parker.
He also knows Parker, so there we go. It's just going to be an hour of inside jokes, everyone. It'll be super fun to be on the outside looking in on all of those.
Well, if you're keeping track at home, the first note in the Easter egg show notes is strain the pool.
That's pretty good. There you go. See that? And anyone who's a fan of Mike Nickens and is listening to us for the first time as a result of that, our show notes also double as Easter eggs. So you can, they're not helpful, but they're like intentionally not helpful.
Excellent.
So
It depends on what you're trying to help.
Actually, and that's the reason Lance's first marriage didn't work out. He was intentionally not helpful.
Unhelpful. That's right. F-U-L.
He was
next.
preoccupied with fun standard euphonium literature.
Yeah, exactly. He practiced pantomime so much until it unraveled. So whenever I make fun of the fact that he got divorced, it makes everyone uncomfortable except for him and I, which is like a win for both of us. So there you go.
Well, she'd find it funny too.
Yep, she would. She listens to every episode.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well,
part of her scream therapy.
Yeah.
Right?
That was part of the settlement. Lance gave her extra stuff if she agreed, like in writing, to listen to every episode of the Brass Junkies. He just wanted to torture her.
Kind of Easter eggs.
And she's a great
tag
mother.
I
smile every time I see her. I like her. So, and she always put up with me. So I always felt very welcome. Yep. So
it's true.
I occasionally would shut my mouth in her presence, so which means I like you. So yeah, Mike's like, wait, how do I get that package? So, all right, quickly, thank you to everybody on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/thebrassjunkies, then you can get access instantly to a whole bunch of bonus episodes, including the one that we are going to record with this knucklehead on my right. But there's a lot of bonus content there. We also offer a lot of other stuff for the $5 and $10 per episode level, like whole other podcasts that are monthly. So go to patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to check that out. Also, a big thank you to everybody who has left us a rating or a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And I think we'll do the reads for the ads during the interview here. So should we now let Mike talk?
Who?
Doc Nix is what a lot of people know him as.
Oh.
Yep, that guy. So,
Sure.
And actually, while I'm thinking of it, it's already going to be in the show notes, but I had an awesome talk with him for the Entrepreneurial Musician. That was a while ago now. That was like
years ago,
yeah, it was a couple years ago.
Episode 15, if memory
Episode
serves.
15, if memory serves. Yeah, Lance listens to all of them like 10 times, so he actually
have them all
recommended a
memorized.
TEM episode in his newsletter like last month, which
How about that?
shows you that I actually read his newsletter. So I don't
together, man.
I don't just click to show that it's to keep the open rate above like 30%. Like I actually read it. So there you go.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it is
Hey,
pretty
man.
good.
Anyway, it works.
Yep, and whatever. Exact click is a click, right? Yeah. So Mike, tell the people who the hell you are.
Sure. I grew up around D.C. I'm a tuba player. Started off, just in the school bands and things like that. Went to some schools to try to make it into a professional thing.
Went to some schools. Did you? That makes it sound like you got like kicked out of a bunch of schools. Like
I definitely made some hard choices midstream though, but I just had a great time. Studying in Manhattan, studying at Yale, studying in Michigan. Which then, as I'm finishing Michigan, the George Mason men's basketball team in 2006 went to the Final Four. And we always say that everyone else, it was a complete surprise. To them, it wasn't a surprise. They knew what they were capable of. But the rest of us did not see that coming. And then in the months after that, the administration thought it would be a great idea to make a pep band with a professional leader happen at the university. So as I was looking to move back to D.C., there was this job for pep band, and I applied for it, and here I am about to start my 14th year in that position. Now, in addition to doing a whole lot of basketball games, I have been able to work my way into teaching tuba lessons, some euphonium lessons, some brass chamber music. I've conducted the symphonic band from time to time. Just kind of depends on, what's needed and what I'm interested in at any given moment, but to me, it all ties together because I'm trying to encourage musicians to find their way to their best self by having a variety of experiences and trying to, put together all the best practices of everything they're involved in to make it's a kind of a cross-training approach to getting themselves into the headspace of who they are and how that applies to their own expression and their own creativity, and then hopefully their own well-being. Professionally, personally, spiritually, and so on.
Man, you're getting deep like early. What are we? Wow. What are we going to ask him?
Dang.
Lance, tell a joke.
It's two tuba players walk past a bar. It could happen. So when you took the gig or applied for the gig, there was no pep band up to that point?
There was a student-run band, and there had been various versions of bands. The university only became a standalone thing in 1972, and we got some evidence of some bands going back to the 60s, but it was a combination of either a student making it happen or a local high school band director bringing their band over to play for the university, or every now and then maybe the jazz band would become the pep band for a thing. It just kind of depended on the year, but this would be the first attempt to actually name a faculty member as director of the pep band.
And so when you were hired, what was the charge?
To take the energy that happened around the university because of the Final Four and turn it into something permanent.
And when you took it over, was there was no real superstructure in place? So you kind of had to build it from the ground up, ?
I'd say we are still building it from the ground up.
Oh, okay.
Piece by piece and figuring out how to make it, just put all the right incentives in place and conduits for support. And we're just... I'm sort of fascinated by this whole thing because, and the spoiler alert is that I think you've done what you've done is a thing that I admire greatly, and I try to do and try and get my students to do, which is to be creative where you are. And it doesn't matter what the gig is, there's an opportunity for you to lead from that place. Amen.
And it seems to me that you have seized upon that opportunity. So I kind of want to unpack and hear the story of how it started
Sure.
and progressed.
Sure.
Oh, and if I can quickly interject, also, he is now tenured. Like he created
That's right.
a tenured track position, which is like what? That's like
Right.
finding two unicorns in your backyard, like playing backgammon or something.
It was
So-
it was a annual contract when I started, and we ended up with a whole lot of like a pretty big splash from the beginning. I'd say there's probably a couple things that helped us along the way. I mean, obviously that Final Four being, what's going to happen to Mason now that this Final Four has happened. Everyone's kind of looking for evidence of there's going to be a positive thing on the other side of that. I grew up here in the area. I grew up about half an hour away from Mason, and the DC area is something I would at least like to think that I'm fluent in, sort of like kind of the social, just the social structures, especially folks. I'm 43 years old, so kind of folks in our generation and our younger siblings and things like that, and what kinds of activities, particularly musical activities, which we like to be involved in. And so the idea was basically just what you said: figure out how to work from where you are and go from there. Figure out who you are and see if there's things you can add to yourself that, with the main idea of supporting your personal narrative and kind of moving away from maybe an older idea of you're the great unwashed until you've studied certain pieces and certain areas of cultural expression that you may not even had any access to or don't have anything to do with who you are as a person. I'd rather take all those practices that I learned studying that stuff and applying it to figuring out, can we make more out of your voice so that you can say who you are on your own terms. Mm-hmm. So then that connects to the pep band in a sense, because you have to solve certain things. You walk into the arena. We're blessed to have a 10,000 seat arena, and at that time it was filling up very regularly. And so crowd engagement is a huge thing. And the reason why I bring up kind of being fluent in who we are as an area and as a region is it's just as simple as, well, how do people party? You just go to even a karaoke bar and listen to what everyone wants to sing. And it's like, well, if everyone wants to sing those tunes, I'm just going to put those at the basketball game and everyone will sing them there just as well. And with the DC area being such a rich cultural, ethnic, diverse mix, it won't be just one style of, the way that the market sort of divides us into, different categories based on, like I said, the way we're partying, what kind of concerts we're going to, and then what age group, is there a racial component, is it a participation concert, or is it the kind of thing you sit quietly for, or whatever it is. But I'm just trying to figure out so that anybody that's walking into that building can kind of see themselves. So the book has, started, I saw the first thing was Bon Jovi. They want to sing Living on a Prayer, and we kind of made that into a big production thing with everyone singing along, and that's a lot of fun. But then Outkast is in the book, and Stevie Wonder's in the book, and Snoop Dogg's in the book, AC/DC, and Aretha Franklin, and the students were picking the songs basically themselves, and then we were doing the best we could. Here's everything I learned in my orchestration classes. I was also a composition minor, and how can we make a very high quality product out of these student arrangements? And we've worked really hard. I think we've been successful on many occasions, putting out a product that really just started because a student was sitting around wherever they listened to music and just, like I said, just partying, and then thinking about how that could apply, in the basketball arena. So we worked really hard. How do you listen to a tune that doesn't even have brass in it, doesn't even have any woodwinds in it, but reimagine it so that it can work in that environment? And then the more types of musicians started showing up. The string players started first. The violinists never been in a band like that. Well, it's real easy. I mean, it's one thing to try to be in a football marching band where you're out there in 90 degrees and possibly can destroy your instruments if you make a wrong turn. That's not necessarily the case up in the stands for basketball. So they were easy to integrate, and we found a bunch of them that wanted to purchase electric instruments. We ran them through the sound system, so their sound's able to contribute in a very satisfying way. And then we were already playing Earth, Wind, and Fire, whereas we took all those string parts and put them in the woodwinds. Now we can actually have violins playing the violin parts, and it's just a whole lot of fun to be the master of your own destiny when putting those arrangements together. And on top of that, how much fun it is to like the sort of untouchable celebrity that comes across. For us growing up, it was always the radio, or maybe it was watching music videos. Of course, now it's all over the internet. However else you consume music, but me thinking about I'm listening to these songs, and then we have a whole community that's also listening to these songs. And even if we don't know each other, we've had this common experience of this tune, falling in love with this tune, showing up somewhere, everyone dancing, everyone singing while they're dancing, and then we applied that to the basketball arena. Thinking about, especially it was called the Patriot Center when I started. It's called Eagle Bank Arena now. That is one of the top venues nationally for rock concerts. So the place was already built for it in the first place. Well, why don't I just perform that way for the crowd that's there for basketball, but the room is also a rock venue, so we just make it both at the same time, and people start to find it's like validation. It's like, this is who I am by myself in a room just listening to music, but now I get to do it in public, and now I get to have some say, like which tunes are we doing, pick what tune, put a tune in the book that we've never done before. I can even learn, like empower myself by learning to help write the charts, organize the charts, teach the charts, and then once we have them all practiced and ready to go, even know the moment that it's best to do this song or best to do that song. And so we've just kind of kept some really good components of the student-led vibe that's been there for decades, but then just trying to give it an extra boost with some professional savvy from me and my staff. I have Associate Director Jeremy Freer. I've had some beautiful grad assistants over the years, and everybody helping to put all that together.
There's about 30 directions I'm interested in going.
Choose 17.
Let's go back a little bit. So you got started, and the budget came from the School of Music, or it came from the athletic department?
Neither. So
he's independently wealthy.
Yeah, right. The first person that was pushing on it was the Dean of Admissions. And it just so happened that he was a bando. He marched in the Centerville High School band in Centerville, Ohio, and was around drum and bugle corps. And he was a student at GW and helped kind of get a pep band started there. He was also doing some stuff around the University of Michigan. So he had been around. He had been in bands, and he had been around schools where bands had really, particularly University of Michigan, how much the band program kind of solidifies the character and the sort of identity of that place.
Sure.
So he's seen it happen in a very positive way, and was looking at Mason and saying, this is a way to do that for us. Also, when you're involved in music, who's involved. You know that some of the best students are all musicians, and it's like, I remember when I was teaching in a high school band, and if I needed to make an announcement, all I had to do was go to the AP English class, and almost all my seniors were in there together. And so it's like all the same kids. So he knew what type of kid he could recruit to the university and how that would raise the profile of the type of student that came to Mason. So he put a bunch of money in scholarships so that I could every year recruit and retain students with pep band scholarships. Here's some money off your tuition, and then play your instrument and come to basketball games. And that's how the deal sort of started. And then, of course, we blossomed well outside of basketball, university ceremonies, things around town, parties, and all kinds of different ways we're playing music. So that's the first real push was from that admissions thing. And then pairing that up, there is a whole division of the university called University Life, and that's just student activities and just the kind of the larger idea of campus things that are kind of non-academic but essential to making the university environment making what it is. And so some funds came from there. Of course, once we got the class going, there's some tuition generated there, so it's maybe not directly coming to the program, but since the School of Music is able to bring in tuition dollars, because people are signing up for the classes, that's sort of a tides raising all boats. So the pep band doesn't exist, in a vacuum. We need that ecosystem of the School of Music. So, making sure the right adjuncts are able to support. And I'd say those single credits that a bunch of them, we got a bunch of kids signed up are flowing through there. So, and then over time, just like we started our fundraising activities. And so I'd encourage anybody to go to greenmachine.gmu.edu, and there's a Give Now button right on the top corner. If you're interested in the program, that's a great way to make sure we can do what we're trying to do. And that's sort of the palette.
You can also go to patreon.com/thebrassjunkies and we'll
Give Now button. Yeah. That's what you need. Give Now button.
Sorry, that just popped into my head. I don't know why.
I understand. So where's the donate button? I'm looking here now. I see news. I don't see donate.
It should say Give Now at top right corner.
Oh, there it is. It just showed up.
It's super high tech. If you have a lot of money to give, like the button's really big. It's like a dynamic website. So, yeah.
So the charge to start this thing did or did not include the name Green Machine.
It was the Mason Pet Band until a few of us were sitting around, probably after a rehearsal or something, eating burgers, and the name started floating around the table, and had some of the student leaders there, and just catchy thing, school colors are green, so we were able to throw that in there. Plus, it's kind of fun to see George Mason with the GM, and then doing a nice little acrostic with Green Machine GM. So all kinds of fun things that fit together there.
When did you start wearing a pimp suit?
That would be the first performance, first big public performance. That all came together over a lifetime of experiences and trying to figure out what was going to be the best thing. And I knew for sure I didn't want to wear a military marching band uniform, and I knew for damn sure I didn't want to wear a polo shirt and some khakis at a basketball game.
Man, I wear polo shirts like every day. What are you saying? Man?
And so,
I'm considered a fashion maven in the brass.
But do you do it at a basketball game? Is the question?
Well, not in front of a band.
And so I went to the mall and found this suit that had a jacket with the coat goes lower than my knees and stripes all on it, and it was green, and I knew that's what I was going to walk out in front of a few thousand people on my first performance. And so from there, and I've been picking up suits ever since. I think we're around 18 or 19 different suits now, which actually makes it really easy because I don't have to clean them. I don't have to clean it every single time. I can
to be clear, I could smell the suits when I walked in the door here. So yeah, you can tell it. He always cleans them every summer, but it hasn't happened this summer yet. But no, you wear shades. You've got like a scepter. I mean, it's like, and you totally. If you had 5% hesitation wearing that suit with that getup, then you would look like you would make everyone in that place uncomfortable because you would, you couldn't pull it off, and it's completely unapologetic, and it's you, and it's just like
you are definitely understanding the intent.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I talk about this on TEM all the time. The definition of remarkable is worth remarking about. And I'm sure there's somebody out there that thinks you should be wearing a polo shirt and khakis because that's what college pep band directors do. But and
they think the band should be wearing rugby shirts for some reason.
Yeah, and there shouldn't be violins in it, and
all of it.
Which
definitely shouldn't be vocalists.
Yeah, no.
So,
but and we'll get to that in a second. But you're just unapologetically you. Which does that always come naturally to you, or is that something that's gained steam over time?
I'd say an advantage to having this brown skin in this culture, especially because my family is mixed. You from an early age, you have to start. You're kind of faced with, okay, so are you living this way or are you living that way, and are you connecting enough with things that logically might connect to you based on your genetic makeup, your cultural background, something like that. And it's always a question. And of course, every person really needs to take the time to figure out what that is for themselves. But like I said, since I could clearly see I look different from pretty much everyone around me, it kind of forces the issue a little bit, and it's like, when I go to a party and I'm the only me there, and it's like, but I love these songs, so that's something. But then I heard, it's like my family is what's called blockbusted. They blockbusted the street. They were the first black family that moved in on the street, and so we're the only ones there that look like us until the Phelps moved in down that way and the Austins moved in down the other way. But so the music you listen to is a lot to do with the social environment you're in, and then I heard Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick for the first time, and boy, that was a sound that I had never heard anything like, and it was fascinating, and it sounded like so much fun to learn these rhymes and these beats, and so that's then started. But then I noticed folks over here who were listening to whatever didn't even know about this, and so you just sort of start to move back and forth between worlds a little, these sonic worlds, and then you also notice it manifests in clothes, and it manifests in different activities and the way we talk to each other and the food that's eaten and all these different kinds of things. And so for me, I just was always trying to collide the things together with the understanding that all of the paths make up who I am. And they're going to fall together how they fall together. And then over time you start to see it comes together because you are picking the things that are resonating with you. And so the output is a result of the process of taking the things in, churning them around, and then sometimes on purpose and sometimes accidentally, the things coming back out, and they come out as they come out. So the suit and the cane and the shades, some ways I'd say that is my drum major outfit, and it's just a different kind of drum major. This drum major is, influenced by Cab Calloway and Quincy Jones and George Clinton, and we've even talked about the Flavor Flav influence.
Right.
It's all that, and I'm trying to be the conductor. I'm trying to be the drum major. I'm trying to be the mascot. I'm trying to be a cheerleader, and just it all comes together because all of those things are naturally who I am. So as people are kind of looking at me and thinking about what I should or shouldn't be wearing, and it's like I'm not being apologetic about it. It's like, well, if I go down that path of apologizing to someone else because I showed up as I am, I'm tearing my own self down in some way that's just not healthy. And on top of that, I'm giving away power to somebody who doesn't know enough to even have the right to have an opinion about who I should be or what I should be working on. And so I'd rather just lead by example. And the example is I have a lot of fun being me, and I have infinite possibility of what that could be. So if I don't do the work to manifest those things, then I'm squandering this gift of life. And so I'm not going to squander it. I'm going to go after it, and I'm going to try and build, and I'm going to try and say things and be things. And I'm not going to be right about all of it. But if I feel like, all the things I was pulled from a million movies. I think that bonsai scene in the original Karate Kid, and Daniel's sitting there, and the doubt shows up, and he's like, how do I know that the picture I'm picturing, he's supposed to be picturing what the bonsai tree is supposed to look like. And he asks, how do I know if the picture I'm picturing is the right one? And Mr. Miyagi says, if it comes from you, it's always the right one. So that's it. And you put that stuff out there, and you see how it makes you feel, and you see what excites you, and then you just keep doing that. And if you're making love and joy happen, then if somebody's offended by that, I'm glad they're offended by that.
Man, all right, a few things. First of all, it would be a very large shirt, but transcribe the last 5 minutes and put that on a shirt because that was awesome. Second is that just for the record, I never even noticed that you're black because I don't even see race. I don't see race. White people love to say that. And the third thing is that if I don't know this because no one could, but I would dare say that if you, even though your musicianship is impeccable, that if you were trying to fit a mold, I think there's a good chance you wouldn't have created a tenure track position. Not that tenure track is good and non-tenure track is failure. I mean, like that, not to set it up as a dichotomy.
I'm definitely relieved to have it.
For sure. I mean, it's a good thing. I don't want to make it sound like I'm setting it up like if you hadn't done that it would be in any way a failure.
Right.
But yeah, you can't. When you compromise, then the people who are your true fans now, the people who you really resonate with, the community that you've built, which is why Mason was like, we want to keep you here essentially permanently, then not that they would dislike you, but they would like you a lot less because there'd be a lot less of what they like to like. Exactly.
Stand out.
And the people that don't like you now might like you a little more, but you don't get tenure by building a community where there's like, rather than like 30% of the people not buying what you sell and it's only 28% that's not buying what, so you could it's the urge to compromise, which can be in all of us, to be accepted. That is bad advice, and you've just doubled down on you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's so important.
And I think if there's somebody who would think they would want to tear it down for whatever reason, they don't need my audacity. They could come up with any reason.
Yeah, of course.
So that
you can't let facts get in the way of hatred.
That's it, man.
And I hate any time that somebody calls anyone that doesn't like something a hater, like reflexively. I can't stand that. If you just say like, "Oh, I'm not a fan of Blink 182," and they you're a hater. It's like, well, no, I just said I don't like them. I don't know why I just thought of Blink 182. But
you're
anyway,
a hater.
I usually go down the hater path once somebody is doing things that sabotage it.
Yeah, no, there are haters. Just the reflexive, like if you don't like it, like Green Machine's fine, but it's not my cup of tea. It doesn't mean you're a hater, but yeah, we got to talk to the people that we're meant to serve. There are plenty of people who don't like this podcast. I mean, it's not like they all email us. We've gotten a couple, but but there are a bunch of people who probably hear it and are like, it's fine, like it's fine. And then or fans of yours that are going to listen and be like, I love that Mike was on. I can't imagine listening to another one of somebody that I don't know. But what do we do? Dumb it down so that the Patreon patrons aren't patrons, because it's like,
exactly
and then your people listen to half of another episode, and then yeah, but man, there's a draw though to just want to be accepted by as many people as possible.
Who doesn't feel that?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Who doesn't feel that? And
yep.
and there are, I will say there are definitely some folks who really don't care about that and they just go in their direction.
Yep. Absolutely.
I guess I'd say that I would like to try to think that I balance those things. Of course, I'm trying to make something that's got mass appeal and that draws as many people in, they can see themselves in it and feel like they have ownership over it. However, on the other side of that, it's like we do make some choices on our own that, part of the thing that we think you like isn't the thing that you can hear or see. It's like the thing that you like is our process before we even got there.
Right.
And so, it doesn't always come up with the answer that you might be looking for, but you would hate to take away our process that got us there, because it just is an essential part of being for us. We're not going by a pre-made handbook on what to do. We're trying our best to quiet ourselves enough to be able to listen to what we're trying to say to ourselves,
right,
before we even start to make a move.
That's deep.
On what we're trying to say to someone else.
I'm not used to you being so deep, man. I think from now on, when I talk to him, I'm just going to bring all this stuff. I won't even turn it on. I'll just hand him a mic, and he'll be like dropping knowledge bombs here. Yeah. He's usually like we are, fart jokes and, whatever else.
But there's a whole lot of seriousness in the fart jokes as well, man. You want to talk about deep. Those come from a deep place.
Well, depends what you had for lunch.
So, nice segue.
I want to ask a little bit more about the organization of the band. But before I do that, I want to mention that the Mary Papert School of Music at beautiful and sunny Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, is a sponsor of our show, has been for a very long time, and we appreciate it greatly. So if you would do us a favor and click on the link in the show notes below, you can find out all about the offerings going on at the Mary Papert School of Music at Duquesne University. You can find out about the amazing brass faculty, the performance opportunities, and more. So please click on the link below. And very, very special thanks to Jim. Really needs a scepter. Nova.
Jim Nova. He does need a scepter. He needs to take some. We were talking a while back. I have some chamber music that would really translate well to his multi-track project. So I'm calling him out now, saying, I sent you some great tracks, my man. Get on it.
Hey, see that? Come on, Jim.
Let me say, I want to say something about Duquesne, though. Years ago when I was at Michigan, we took an improv group on tour, and we got to do a performance. There's that concert hall that's right next to the football field. We played in there, and it was received in a way that you could just tell that the scene there was just a very encouraging and accepting, curious group, because what we did was we brought maybe 15 musicians in, where the whole thing was we were going to free and spontaneously improvise concerts. And just the reception was just so warm, and I was just very happy that was my introduction to doing anything at Duquesne, was that concert. And I think of it every time it comes up, even when we're beating y'all's butt on the basketball court.
Sorry, Jim.
Speaking of which, who was it that Mason lost to in the Final Four?
To Florida.
That's right. Go Gators.
To Florida.
Anyway, but I digress.
So let's talk about. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know whether I'll start current and go backwards if necessary. So the current makeup of the group is how many people? What's the instrumentation? Sure. How do you decide who's in the group? What's it look like?
The best way to talk about the Green Machine in its current form, we have about 9 different ensembles going on. So the largest iteration of it would be what happens at the basketball game, which we can have as many as 200 to 250 musicians in the bleachers, making the whole place rock. And then sometimes, time to time, I'll put the whole thing on the court, and then we invite in the color guard and the drum line, and so we kind of make the mega Green Machine. You know, our dance team joins us, our cheerleaders join us, our fife and drum corps joins us, and then when it's not that, everyone sort of goes to their corner of the world and works on their thing. So we have 3 different drum lines going: a Spirit rah-rah drum line, we have a 3-cornered hat rope drum line, and then we have our competitive Winter Guard International drum line, world champion Winter Guard International drum line, when we were able to take home the hardware in 2012 in open class, which we're all very proud of. Then was similarly, as I mentioned, my color guard, who also is a open class world champion. This just brought it home this past year. So this sort of idea that sometimes of the year where this kind of mega group, and then I could probably guess that we're somewhere between 300 and 400 all at once, and then we split up, and 45 kids go over and do this drum line, and another 35 go over and do the competitive color guard, and there's smaller rock bands and funk bands, and acoustic guitar hits, and we have a Civil War like Americana brass band kind of thing. We're still building that. We got our uniforms this year, and we're looking forward to putting in some replica over the shoulder instruments, and so we can have the full experience. But that group has really taken off. Every battlefield and historical society in the area is trying to hire that group to come out and play Yankee Doodle for them or whatever. But it's for me it's such a blast, because that repertoire was never touched in all the time I was in school, and it's extensive and very difficult. But there's just whoever knows why it doesn't turn into something we do in different settings in the concert hall or whatever. But it works great when there's a bunch of folks dressed up or a parade or whoever knows what's going on. So that's sort of the program in general. 9 different ensembles, different types of hits, trying to make the whole thing as flexible as possible. So whenever an opportunity comes up, we're able to say, yeah, we have a group that does that. We have a New Orleans style brass band that does a bunch of just like outdoor parties and hits in people's backyards and hits in bars, all kinds of things like that. So trying to think about what it is. For instance, if we're talking brass, what are all the types of ways I can use my tuba, from some early American brass music to stomping down the street in New Orleans to a funk band to whatever it could be. So it's like that's sort of the overall idea. Let's try to go in every direction we could go in that's going to help these young people, and then in the end we try to put it into the shell of this giant basketball band, competitive marching units, and then sort of the miscellaneous hits that happen that aren't easily categorized as either one of those things.
That's Andrew's nickname, is miscellaneous hits.
Indeed.
So I just have one more question before we change direction, and that is, did all of these ensembles grow out of your brain, or was there was a request, or it was the students asked for it, or how did this go from? Because a lot of people they get a pep band gig and they can't wait to get out of the pep band gig, and you got into the pep band gig,
Correct.
and you thought, oh, this is the beginning of my empire, and now you built this thing. I mean that in admiration.
No, I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. Yeah.
Do you realize how infrequently he's not sarcastic? Like, I don't think he's feeling honored enough. So, because that was genuine.
I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. The y'all still do the pedal F bomb?
No, we'll just slap an explicit if you if you curse. So.
Well, I just got to say that I'm a pig in shit in this job, man. That's just
jeez.
It's just what it
Lance,
is.
mark this as explicit, please.
Explicit.
It just is what it is, man. No, you're right. I actually wanted to be at basketball games playing Earth, Wind, and Fire tunes. You're going to pay me to do that. I will be there.
Man,
you know,
I'm always preaching to students to define your own success.
So
you got to define your own success and then go for that.
And then if we have a school of music that's very interested in the symphonic repertoire and opera, they may not necessarily want to be at a rockin' basketball game with drum sets and all sorts of electronic keyboards and electric guitars, and that it's just not interesting to them. But to me, I love seeing how much I learned analyzing Bach and playing Ewald and all the things that we do as students, and how all that easily connected to putting together your own arrangement of a Stevie Wonder tune or whatever it is. And especially because, once you're in this environment, if we don't put the right music in place for the community, they're not going to, the magic that's supposed to happen by having the ensemble there won't happen if I play the wrong music. But if I play something that makes you so excited, when we Jeremy Freer did these arrangements of these Rage Against the Machine tunes, and we put the first one in place, and within a week, that just a rehearsal video got like 1 million hits.
This was my next question. I can just leave.
But we put it in place really because we like the groove. We just like the loud, raucous, booming thing that you could jump up and down and scream your head off. But everyone sees it and they love it for different reasons,
Right.
So it's like you start having experiences like that, and you got to stay in it. And there's no reason to think, one of the things we talk about with style and things like that, there's some music teachers that would swear to you that singing in an R&B style or singing in a soul style will hurt your voice and it'll curve your spine and
it'll give you polio.
You know what I'm saying?
Scoliosis.
I'm gonna quote George Carlin. The country won't win the war. You know what I'm saying?
R&B singing will undo vaccinations.
Exactly right. So, and of course, we're celebrating. We're going to celebrate Aretha Franklin for the rest of the time that there's an American culture, or hopefully even the human race.
Queen.
And so you're going to tell me she's still performing? She was still performing late into her 70s. That it hurt her? Because it didn't sound like it to me, or at least we didn't get to see it at all. Anyway, putting all these things in place, and I always love to say, at some point, no matter what the style is, G major has 1 sharp and it's F sharp, and 4/4 has 4 counts in it, and you know what I'm saying, quarter notes divide into eighth notes.
Slow down, you're getting a little past me. G has anyway. I'll talk to you about it later.
Yeah, man.
Well, I'm gonna, Lance, if you want to take just a minute to escape and go practice pantomime, I'm gonna read the Parker ad. So you got 30 seconds. So I would recommend that you pick up a book before you do that. Though it's called Music Practice Coach. It's by Lance LaDuke. And
it's Scratch and Sniff.
It is Scratch and Sniff. There's actually complete sentences and some pretty funny photos.
That's the more interesting part.
So thank you to Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for TEM. What the hell? Where am I? What am I talking about? Yeah, I mean, they do provide it for TEM and for the Brass Junkies and for Serial and what. What other? Wait, don't tell me. There's a number of them. Actually, I'm not sure about those last two, but they do provide the hosting for the Brass Junkies. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz artist model tuba mouthpiece and the Lance LaDuke non-artist euphonium model mouthpiece. Euphonium model.
Yeah.
Lance LaDuke euphonium model. You can
Looks better than it sounds.
You can find out. You can find. There's a high bar. Find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Speaking of mouthpieces, Mike's dog just came up next to me, and Mike's dog weighs less than a Parker mouthpiece and is also, I think, smaller than a Parker mouthpiece.
Fit inside.
What kind of dog is it?
Yeah, this is my girlfriend Lauren's dog, and he is a mix of a Maltese and a poodle, and possibly a dust bunny.
A moodle?
Yeah, he's man. I aspire to this level of chill.
Real.
This dog is like lounging, man.
Indeed.
It looks like he's been working in a coal mine for 12 hours and just kicked the boots off.
Having a rough life.
Yeah, exactly. So before we run out of time, we have to talk about a gig that you played recently. So,
Sure.
Mike's tuba has played with the National Symphony Orchestra a few times.
That's right.
Because I don't have a big orchestral tuba, and I sub with the National Symphony every once in a while, and with the Baltimore Symphony every once in a while when their effing management hasn't locked them out. But that's another story for a different podcast. I will just keep right on moving here. But we are, solidarity with all those Baltimore Symphony musicians
Indeed.
who are amazing and world class and are not being allowed to do what they were put on this earth to do, which is bullshit. But anyway, there's already an explicit tagline, so you don't have to put another one on there. But anyway, Mike's tuba just played with the most recent appearance with the National Symphony. I borrow his tuba. I didn't finish that. Yeah, I borrow anytime that I'm playing there. I borrow his tuba. But this past time it played, it had Mike Nickens behind the tuba.
Did happen.
Which is already cool enough, right? Because that was the first time you played with the NSO.
That was.
Which feels like you're driving a race car,
Oh,
right?
man.
I mean, like, unbelievable.
All
right?
that whole, think that whole pathway that started down the academic side of music and all the things that come with that. And so did I ever think that I'd be sitting on that? I didn't even play Wolf Trap stage before.
Right.
So both playing on that stage and with that group, and it just sort of felt like a great arrival point after a lot of work over a lot of years.
Yeah. So that would, it would be enough if he was playing like music that he like actively disliked. That still would have been like a major day, right?
That's true.
I mean, like
That
a
is
major
true.
day. But wait, there's more. Not only was it not music that he disliked, but he was playing with one of his heroes.
That's true.
Right? And why don't you tell us who that was and what the hell that was like?
Sure. The headliner was Nas, and the event was the 25th anniversary of the release of Illmatic, which is one of those albums that sort of defined the sound and the direction of hip-hop of pretty much anybody following that. And then for sure all of us that partied to that music and did it, learn as many lyrics as you can. I mean, he is a virtuoso, not only of the musical delivery, but also just in the content and the ideas that are in the rhymes. And so all that is there being done, like I said, just at the top level it could be done. But then, and I remember they did this initially for the 20th anniversary, they put together orchestral arrangements to accompany every song on the album. And the NSO performed that in the Kennedy Center in 2014. And then, now it's the 25th anniversary, so let's roll the thing back out. And I got the honor of being able to hold down the tuba part, which was everything I could have wanted it to be. In fact, as always, something always points out something to continue to work harder on. And there was so many very loud, very long notes, very low, very loud. And so it's like, oh, right.
Boy, those
long tones, man.
Those boys and girls in that brass section, man, they have got follow through on those loud and long notes.
That is
oh my
the
goodness.
truth.
Yeah,
and boy, the tuning was locking in the way that you play better because of how well everyone else is playing.
Yes, it's actually easy to play with a section that
easier.
You'd think that it would be hard to play that well. It's
your nerves
easy.
are going. My Apple Watch is telling me that my heart rate is beating too fast, and I'm trying to consider just taking it off. But
your heart rate was around what it would be if someone was chasing you with a gun.
Indeed,
with ill intent.
But it does notice that you're still sitting still, so it's like, right. Are you okay? Are you having a cardiac event? And I'm like, yeah, well, sort of I am, because of the collision of climbing this academic ladder of music, professional ladder and all that, and then this, back what I was talking about leading into the pep band, my social life was also there. I mean, we played Nas, through our car stereo with the windows down next to the basketball court as we played ball every day after work or after school or whatever. So my all of these memories of friends, and had some of them had nothing to do with my musical life other than just sort of being there to cheer for me on if I'm marching around on the football field or something like that. And so there I am sitting there playing these tunes, and I even knew one thing was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. I was okay in the concert, but in the dress rehearsal I was a little bit of a mess. It Ain't Hard to Tell is the closer. It's the last tune in their album, and it itself is just one of those masterpiece and mega hits of your life. And the hook, the sort of accompaniment sample, is all based on Human Nature off of Thriller, Michael Jackson, which is another one of those albums that just sort of is the soundtrack of your life. I mean, in this case for me, a decade before, but ever since. I mean, at no point is Thriller out of fashion or old hat or anything like that. Thriller is just that whole album is just this sustained, standard of what American culture could be, and what our popular culture and artistic culture and how all those collide together. So all that's going on through hip hop, the resurgence of an old sample and sort of freshening up this master virtuoso rapping on top of it, and then I'm sitting there accompanying him with this broken embouchure trying to make it, and I'm in that dress rehearsal, and all this has happened to me. Beautiful tuning and the lip massage you get when the chord's in tune in the right kind of way. And I just had to tear up. I just had to. It was just so much happening at once, and I just felt like some long arcs of work were all converging, and some that you never thought would come together. Yet here we are. As I was kind of talking around about the concert, they might think of it as a Pops concert, but to me, I'm looking at that. I'm like, this might be a Pops concert, but it might be more productive to think of it as a legit hip hop concert, and beautifully dressed up with one of the top orchestras in the world accompanying, and then also on the flip of it, kind of the meeting of the minds. It's like there were probably people in that orchestra that had the realization that the entire audience knew the music better than they did, and the evidence is all the call and response and all the times you drop out and just let the audience do the rest of the line, and the entire concert's like that. And maybe the aesthetic might be off-putting, or maybe you're neutral on it, but you definitely for sure know that you're sitting there playing, and there's 7,000 people in front of you that know your gig better than you do. Obviously, they don't know about playing the horn or playing whatever instruments you're doing, how you're executing your part. And I'm not trying to mean it in that sort of sense, but just the greater context of what the music is, and the specificity of sort of the core of what it's based on, this album that came out 25 years ago. And so it was just a really magical experience, and I was so blessed that so many friends and just my lifelong friends were still living around DC, and they were able to come, and fun pictures being taken if they could see me from the audience. And I had Green Machine members who were working all around Wolf Trap, so I myself was able to go to the concession stand and buy a T-shirt of the concert from one of my students who's behind the booth, and we just had a great moment there. And A whole lot of magic that day, and it just felt like the fulfillment of a lot of work that I didn't ever know where it was headed, and sort of like the reward of your faith, of sticking to your faith, and it following through to this thing that you could have never come up with yourself.
Should we cut that part out, Lance? He didn't seem as excited as I thought he was going to be.
No, it's kind of a dud, but start making fun of Jens, it'll clear it up.
Wow, that yeah, man. Like, yeah, long arcs. Yeah, I'm not familiar with this like articulate dude next to me here. He's like, he's like, yeah, that's good, man. Long arcs, and that's yeah, good stuff, man. I knew how excited that you were,
yeah,
and
it was.
Yeah, Steve Dumaine, who is the tuba player in the National Symphony. Who
all hail Steve Dumaine.
Yeah, and he's who made that happen, and he's who made me playing with Trey Anastasio from Phish happen 6 years ago at the Kennedy Center, which was that was the highlight of my career. Like, and the second coolest thing that's happened to me is Blank, out of respect to show how much better that was than anything else.
Right.
And I've been spoiled. Well, the third thing would be the first time I played with Lance, which I totally remember. I have no recollection, but anyway. But yeah, Steve. I actually texted Steve before it happened. I said to Steve, I'm worried that Nickens is going to stroke out before the concert starts. Like, do you have a backup plan in place? And he wrote,
not far off, man. Not far off.
And then I wrote to Steve, I was like, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm worried the dude is going to flatline. Like, if he goes, that's how he'd want to go.
Yeah,
so
man.
It's cool. But like, the tuba seat needs covering. And I was in the Berkshires. I wasn't angling to be like the guy that was in the on deck circle. But yeah, that was, yeah. And I just told him how much it meant to you. Not that he didn't already know.
Yeah,
so
seriously. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Just made my life in so many ways, man.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. Hey, Lance.
Hmm?
Who would you perform with if you could perform any album with any artist, like either in a concert band or an orchestral setting? Who would it be?
Tom Waits, Mule Variations.
There you go.
Man, that's an artist right there, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's never even heard that album. He just knows. He just knows that sounds really impressive.
Oh,
so
just that voice and the delivery of just like the rawness of like being a human and like what life is like. That's what I always think of with Tom Waits, man. Just heavy stuff, man.
Guess who the first person to play Tom Waits was for me? Rex Martin.
All right, sweet.
I was on my way in for a lesson, and he said, "Hitz, are you ready?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Listen to this dude." And then I was like, "Yeah, I think we took like the first 10 minutes because he played me like 2 tracks because I was I was losing my mind. Well, he was like, listen to the phrasing, and I was like, holy mackerel.
But just the whole vibe of it is like there's more to being alive than you're paying attention to.
Yep.
Here's evidence of that, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
Seriously.
Indeed. Jens Lindemann. Speaking of long arcs, I don't even know what that means.
I don't either.
The culmination of like what was that old TV show? This Is Your Life? Is that what it was called?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like you were experiencing with with the Nas show. But so I have no idea what that has to do with Jens. But so our dear friend Jens has been having some pretty serious chop problems.
I've heard.
It's a shame.
It really is a shame. So what would your advice be to Jens in this time, this desperate time of need?
Well, I'd say I have to reveal that I actually know more about this kind of more intimately than either of you do.
Oh, well, please.
Because what's been going on with Jens? What's been going on with Jens for years is it's sort of the musical equivalent of a ghostwriter. It's not actually him playing.
He lip syncs?
And
really?
What he's been doing is he's actually been hiring me, a tuba player, to sort of ghost play for him. And so the chop problems all come from the fact that I'm a tuba player. I pick up a trumpet. I can only play like 5 notes at a time. So all the problems you're hearing are actually my personal chop problems playing trumpet. And so the advice is Jens,
Milli Vanilla.
You know what I'm saying, Jens? You need to find a better ghost player than me.
Milli Vanilla. This is the first time. This is the first time in history that any white artist has ever gotten famous on the backs
I'm
of
sure. Yeah, you're
non-recognized
right.
black musicians.
You're exactly right about that.
Never,
Shame on you, Lance.
Never happened before. There we go. I like it, man. Milli Vanilla. We need to call him Milli Vanilla now. That's
pretty good.
So his wife listens to the podcast, and she will occasionally
Fast forwards to here anyway.
makes him listen just to the advice. Like she'll literally walk up to him and just hit play. And I think I am going to actually text Dr. Snow to make sure that she knows about this one, because when she hears us call her husband Milli Vanilla, that's
she needs to know what the reason was.
Jens now.
That's Jens now. So yeah, there you go. Milli Vanilla. Indeed. I like it, man. So he needs a better.
That's pretty funny. Yeah,
he needs a better ghostwriter.
That's right.
Wow.
Ghost player,
ghost writer, ghost something. Yep. There you go.
Man.
There you go. I was not expecting that. So
nope.
that's
a good way to. I like that one. That's inventive.
That was inventive, and we put him on the spot like everybody else. So there you go. Jens.
How dare you?
Who are you? I just called Lance Jens.
How dare you?
He's the Jens is the you're the Jens of the euphonium.
That's the reaction of the century.
I better buy a new jacket.
We're gonna stick around for the bonus episode here, which we're gonna. Yep, I know. Which we're gonna get somehow less serious. How about
Who's the guest on that one?
The guest on that is gonna be it's gonna be Doc, I think.
Oh, really?
He's gonna put on the pimp suit.
I'm wearing it right now. What are you talking about? You want the light up one?
And actually,
the light up one.
We've run out of time.
Exists.
But hand him.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to hand it over to Paul Fadul, who's my partner in crime with my the video series that is emerging.
Yeah, I just want to say we want to say a quick hello to Paul.
Oh, I'm a percussionist, though. I'm not allowed to talk on this.
Well, it's not like you're a. I mean, we have trumpet players on the podcast, so it's not like you have to meet the threshold of people that we like. So, so we're gonna get into this a little bit more in the bonus episode because things got away from us here. But you guys have been doing some. Give us a quick synopsis of the videos you've been doing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've been working on some 8-bit comedy rap.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
We decided last winter break, with all the extra time we have, to put together our own version of Super Mario Brothers.
Right. And
it did pretty well. It did pretty well on the internets. And so we decided we wanted to do a couple more, so we've been working on those.
Yeah,
we just put out a Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
That's the one that I saw. It's hilarious. Yeah, it's funny. There's costumes and rapping and just general tomfoolery.
I got to wear a Doc Nix suit.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Hopefully he cleaned it first. I
hope he did.
Cleaned it after, he says. Yeah.
The odor was fine.
Yeah.
The odor was fine.
But we will. We're definitely going to link to that in the show notes. Yeah, it's like
we are.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, man. Yeah, well, link to it, dude. Is it on YouTube as well, or just Facebook?
It's on Facebook, but you can also see it on YouTube on my channel, Paul Fadul.
There you go. Cool. Yeah, we will definitely link to that. And you guys how many of those are you guys doing?
Well, this is our third,
right.
And
what's the plan?
TBD. We're continuing.
Yeah. There you go. Cool. There you go. So so definitely check that out. So Paul and the dog have both been sitting here quietly. They both seemed about as interested too as in things that were going on. No, Paul had headphones on. I think he was working. So either that or he just put the headphones on to think that that he wasn't listening. Whatever. But
I don't listen to brass players. What?
Yeah, fair enough. So
what did he say?
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it, I think. Paul, thank you very much. Whatever your name is.
My pleasure, man. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. And that is going to do it for another episode of The Brass Junkies. You've been listening to The Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to hear the bonus episode featuring today's guest, please visit patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn how you can support the show and instantly access all bonus materials, as well as gain access to a special patron-only Facebook group. The Brass Junkies is produced by the amazing, wonderful, and truly inspirational Will Houchin. The theme music was composed by Fernando Dados and performed by Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. We are at Pray for Jens on Twitter and Instagram and have a Facebook page at facebook.com/prayforjens. You can find out more about the Brass Junkies and all the other Pedal Note Media podcasts at pedalnotemedia.com. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.